because it seems like you mentioned twice that once that you kind of have an ease to learning, but also I think you mentioned once that you always feel like you can learn anything. Do you know where that comes from, that you would always like go into something, you wouldn't know anything about it, and you would be like, oh, I can figure it out, I can learn it, and I can become good at it? Because I think a lot of people don't have that, and you started a lot of things from scratch. So I think you have to have some like secret sauce there.
That's a great question, actually, because in fact, when I was 16, I mean, in the UK, you do exams at 16.
You do what at 16?
You do exams.
Okay, exam. Yeah, at 16.
You do them at 11, and it's called the 11 plus, or it was at the time. And if you get really good marks, you can go to a really posh school, a really good school. If you get bad marks, you go to a really bad school. And I was on the cusp. I almost got the good marks, but I didn't get them, so I went to the really crap school. Then at 16, you do exams, and I failed almost all of them. I went from being one of the brightest kids in the class to being one of the stupidest kids in the class, or the least successful, let's say. And then I scraped through my levels, and then the economics degree, basically I did economics because for me it was the easiest subject I could find. I found it easier than the other ones. And so my educational career, I've got a degree, so obviously it's not a failure, but it wasn't what it should have been. And I think that's encouraging for anybody, just in the sense that academic qualifications aren't everything. Your perseverance and your desire to learn a great deal in that, and your capacity to, and it's having a flexible brain. I was talking to a guy called David Amerland, who's an absolute lovely chap and a genius person about analysing how we think and how we work in our brains. And we were talking about people with flexible brains and people without flexible brains. Narcissists don't have flexible brains. People with empathy do have flexible brains. I mean, obviously that's not the only distinction, but it's a good way of looking at it, because we had a guy in the band who, a bit of a narcissist, he couldn't learn to play the guitar. He would play every day 3 hours, and after 4 years, he was still as crap as he was at the start.
Open mind, no?
Yeah, open mind, that's a good word. And it comes to, he couldn't understand that simply by practicing and practicing and practicing, he didn't get any better. So when I say persevere, I mean persevere if you've got any semblance of talent. And persevere if you're willing to learn and adapt, and keep that open mind. Be empathetic. I mean, I said earlier on about the software I'm using. I was trying to understand how they would be looking at it. That's being empathetic. It's understanding their point of view. And that helped me get to the point where I could get something decent out of their software very quickly. Because I wasn't thinking, what would I do? I was thinking, what would they do to make this easy for me?
And who injected that in you? Like, what did it just come somehow naturally through different
It was the blue dog.
Say again?
It was the blue dog.
Oh, the blue dog.
The blue dog, as I said, I became the blue dog. The blue dog was this incredibly nice, kind, empathetic character with a big, deep voice. And a little story with that is that I started the voice and I thought my voice needed to be a little bit lower, so I took it down 2 semitones. So everything I sang and everything I said was down 2 semitones, which makes it slightly deeper. And having done that for 4 or 5 years, I realized that my voice now is the same as the adapted voice that I'd made. So my voice adapted to the character, my character adapted to the character. I became more empathetic, more caring. I now say thank you incessantly, whereas I didn't before, because the blue dog's role was to be polite. Please, thank you, lovely to see you, absolutely delightful. And smiling and being chirpy and cheerful all the time. Because the voice was so low, I had to be excessively cheerful all the time. And that rubbed off on my character as well. And then if we come back to the Mauritius thing, is when I couldn't find a PHP developer or a MySQL developer, I bought a book on Amazon, got it delivered to the house, read the book over the weekend, went in on the Monday and said to the developers, right, who didn't specialize in that, but you know, I did have developers, and said, right, here's how we're going to approach it. You need to read that chapter, that chapter, that chapter, and then you're going to put this into operation. So it was by necessity, because the coding, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So it was kind of, it's a mixture of, you know, it was necessity to actually get things to move forward in a situation where if I didn't do it, nothing would happen. And everybody was relying on me to make it happen. So responsibility, necessity, and then being empathetic, because I needed to be empathetic to what, in the case of the software, how they're trying to approach it, but empathetic also to the people I was asking to do things, and to what could they do and what couldn't they do, what would demotivate them if it didn't work out, so on and so forth. So I like what you said about being open-minded. If you're open-minded, and that's the other thing, and I said it earlier on, about be critical of yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Look for where things could be better. This isn't as good as it could be. Don't ever say it's not good enough. It's not as good as it could be. And then you just keep moving. It sounds terribly American, and Ted, but that idea, I mean, with the talks I give and the conferences I give and the podcasts, I listen back and I watch back and I think, where could I have made this a little bit better?
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes with performing as well. It goes with playing the double bass. It goes with being on stage, giving a show. I mean, when you're on stage playing the double bass, you're playing the double bass, you're singing, you're remembering the words, you're remembering the song, you're remembering the structure, and you're giving a show to the audience, so that there's a connection with them. You can't just play I can't just play the music and expect people to go, oh, great. That would be let's say, a dull jazz concert where people just admire how good you are, and I wasn't good enough to do that. So I would make a show so that people would get into the show and think, wow, this is cool, and I feel part of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy again.
Yeah, empathy. Yeah, I mean, it seems like you're just like developed a really good way with people. Like, you know how to be with people, talk with people, be empathetic with people, like throughout the years and experiences.
Well, I had an interesting comment from my ex-girlfriend, who said, basically, she's seen me working. She's seen me with one bunch of people. She's seen me with another bunch of people. She's seen me with the people I work with. And she's going to be the same everywhere. I mean, this is just me. It's not even kind of me trying to be nice to people or trying to be something that I'm not. I'm like this with my clients. I will say the same stupid things I'm saying to you that I will say it to my clients. So I can't be any other way. And I lose clients because they think, oh, no, he's not very professional, but that's fine by me because I wouldn't enjoy it.